For decades, Gilligan's Island seemed like nothing but light-hearted fun. But behind the laughter, tensions brew. Now, at 91, Tina Louise is finally telling the truth about what really happened on set. And it's nothing like the tropical paradise fans imagine. At 91 years old, the final living cast member of Gilligan's Island, the radiant and enigmatic Tina Louise, has finally broken her silence. Yes, that Tina Louise, the sultry, dazzling Ginger Grant, the movie star marooned in a sequined gown and heels, with hair as flawless as her Hollywood charm. If you grew up on reruns of Gilligan's Island, you remember her. Effortlessly glamorous, captivating, untouchable. But behind that sparkling screen persona was a woman silently enduring far more than we ever knew. Now, after decades of tight-lipped grace, Tina is ready to talk. And what she reveals, it's not just eye-opening. It completely reframes everything you thought you knew about America's most innocent, shipwreck sitcom. So buckle up, because when Ginger Grant speaks her truth, the island doesn't look so sunny anymore. Before there was Gilligan's Island, there was Broadway. And Tina Louise wasn't just passing through, she was owning. Picture this, 1964. Tina is center stage in the hit musical Fade Out, Fade In, performing alongside none other than the iconic Carol Burnett. Every night, the curtain rose on a Tina already radiant with that unmistakable star quality. Fiery red hair, a magnetic voice, and the poise of someone who knew exactly who she was. She wasn't a wide-eyed ingenue hoping for her big break. No, she already had a Golden Globe for God's Little Acre. She had acted in serious films, trained under the legendary Uta Hagen, and was respected for her craft, not just her curve. Broadway wasn't a stepping stone. It was her destination, until one night, everything changed. Backstage after a show, Tina was winding down, maybe touching up her lipstick, maybe chatting with crew. Then, like a scene from a movie, they appeared. A group of producers from a brand new television project. Not just any project that would become Gilligan's Island. And in her, they saw Ginger Grant. Instantly, they were mesmerized. She had that old Hollywood magic they couldn't fake, couldn't find elsewhere. She was the character as far as they were concerned, and they were determined to get her. Tina, she wasn't sold. Here's the twist. The role they pitched wasn't what ended up on screen. According to Tina, the producers originally described Ginger as a sophisticated, multi-dimensional woman. Not just a glamorous distraction, but a clever, cultured actress trapped in surreal circumstance. The show, they promised, wouldn't be slapstick. It would be about real people trying to survive together on a deserted island. A story with heart and depth. That was the best. And even then, Tina hesitated, because Tina Louise wasn't looking to play the pretty girl. She feared being typecast, locked forever in the role of the sexy redhead, eye candy, not a serious artist. And in 1960s Hollywood, that wasn't paranoia. That was prophecy. Television at the time, it wasn't the glamorous arena it is today. Back then, it was a career gamble, often seen as a step down from film. Her own agent warned her, "Tina, if you do this show, the movie offers may dry up permanently." It was a harsh reality. One moment, she was making movies in Paris, living the bohemian dream. The next, she was being asked to trade that for a goofy, unknown sitcom about a group of castaways and a coconut radio. And so she wrestled with a question every serious actor eventually faces. Do I protect my legacy or risk it for something that might become legendary? It wasn't the flattery or the sudden burst of fame that won Tina over. No, it was far too grounded for that. What finally tipped the scales was something surprisingly practical. The producers promised her the show would only last 6 months, just half a year. Then she'd be free to return to the serious roles she loved. That sounded manageable, like a brief detour, not a lifetime sentence. And let's be honest, a steady paycheck was hard to ignore. Theater and film gigs could be unpredictable. A TV series? That was reliable income for at least a little while. So, Tina signed on. What she thought would be a short experiment quickly became her defining role. Ginger Grant transformed into a cultural icon, her image etched permanently into the collective TV memory. Whether Tina liked it or not, she would forever be known as the movie star of Gilligan's Island. Tina was excited at first, but as soon as filming started, trouble began. You know that sinking feeling when you sign up for one thing but get something completely different? That's exactly what happened to her. She was promised Ginger would be glamorous, lovable, a perfect blend of Lucille Ball's charm and Marilyn Monroe's allure. Flirty, funny, magnetic, the kind of character audiences would instantly adore. But when she arrived on set, everything changed. The director had a very different vision. He wanted Ginger to be sarcastic, almost cold. Nothing like the warm, sparkling character Tina had signed up for. Imagine how crushing that must have been. Signing up for glamour and charm, only to be told to play someone distant and unlikable. Tina wasn't having it. In her own words, "I didn't even want to work on it anymore." Who could blame her? She felt the whole show's spirit was at risk if Ginger turned into a bitter ice queen. Her frustration led her straight to the top. She arranged a meeting with the head of CBS, no less. That's a bold move, showing just how serious she was. In that meeting, Tina laid it all out. She explained that Ginger wasn't what she'd been promised, and warned the exec that viewers wouldn't connect with a character who looked glamorous but acted cold. And get this, the CBS boss actually agreed. Not many network execs take an actor's side over a director's. The result? The original director was fired after just 1 month. Enter Richard Donner, the man who would later direct blockbusters like The Goonies and Superman. Under his guidance, everything clicked. Scripts were rewritten to fit Tina's vision of Ginger. Glamorous, sweet, funny, a woman audiences would root for. And that's the Ginger we all remember today. So, in a very real way, Tina saved Gilligan's Island before it even got off the ground. But the drama didn't end there. Even with the new director, tensions simmered. There was one particularly strange day when Tina flat out refused to film a scene. No one could figure out why. She just hit a wall and said, "Nope, not doing it." Sherwood Schwartz, the show's creator, stepped in to talk to her in her dressing room. But here's the weird part. She had completely isolated herself. When he tried to explain how important the scene was, hoping she'd relent, Tina shocked him with this response. "Would you have my dressing room painted gray?" Say what? Not a request for a rewrite, not a plea for a break, but a question about paint color. Schwartz was baffled. It was one of those moments where you think, wait, what is even happening right now? Still, somehow, the scene got filmed, the show went on, and the public? They just saw a funny, heartwarming sitcom about 7 castaways trying to survive. They had no idea about the battles fought behind the scenes, fights for Ginger's portrayal, moments when Tina nearly walked away completely. Looking back, it's clear Tina wasn't being difficult. She was fighting for a character's integrity, one she believed in deeply. Next time you see her strut across the beach in that iconic dress, flashing that signature smile, remember, it took fired directors, tough negotiations, and maybe even a little gray paint to get that moment right. Makes you see those old reruns in a whole new light, doesn't it? And the surprises don't stop there. Behind the goofy antics and coconut radios, the real story on set was far from sunny. While most of the cast bonded like a tight-knit family, laughing and joking between takes, Tina was often alone, isolated. Visitors to the set noticed this clearly. Where others were mingling and chatting, Tina kept to herself, rarely joining the group. And this wasn't just a need-a-moment kind of thing. This was consistent. It was her thing, and people definitely noticed. But why was Tina like that? Was she shy? Was she having a bad day that lasted for 3 whole seasons? Not quite. The truth is, Tina wasn't exactly thrilled about being on Gilligan's Island in the first place. Yes, she reportedly thought the show was beneath her. Imagine being stuck on a sunny island set, surrounded by lovable characters, but feeling like you're trapped in a bad career move. That's rough. Tina Louise had bigger dreams. Serious, gritty roles that earned awards, not just being the sexy movie star on a slapstick sitcom. While the cast bonded like a tight-knit family, Tina stayed distant, almost like she wasn't really there. Dawn Wells, who played Mary Ann, tried reaching out years later, but Tina kept her distance, acting like Gilligan's Island never happened. Rumors of tension between Tina and Bob Denver, Gilligan, ran deep. They wouldn't even pose together for photos, and the awkward silence was palpable. The rest of the cast never talked about it, just working around the divide. Was Tina the villain? Maybe she was just unhappy, stuck in a role she didn't want, unable to connect with the others. Whatever the reason, it created a lasting emotional distance behind the laughs. A glamorous redhead who never quite felt she belonged. Isn't it wild how something that looked so fun and easy on the outside could be so chilly and tense behind the scenes? Makes you see the show in a whole new light, right? The kind of drama you'd expect from a reality show, not a silly little sitcom about being stranded. But Gilligan's Island had it all, and at the center was Tina Louise, the glamorous movie star of the group. Tina wasn't throwing drinks or flipping tables, but her contract? Oh, that stirred up more drama than a busted radio on the island. From day one, Tina's contract demanded top billing, her name front and center, big and bold. She wanted everyone watching at home to know, this show, yeah, I'm the star. Now, here's where it gets messier. Because of that demand, Man. The iconic theme song, the one we all hum for no reason, didn't mention all the cast members at first. Can you believe it? Poor Mary Ann, Dawn Wells, and the Professor, Russell Johnson, were just "and the rest." Like, excuse me? And the rest? That's like inviting someone to a party and calling them +1 the whole night. So rude. But Bob Denver? He wasn't having it. The lovable klutz had a backbone too. Bob went to the producers and said something like, "If you don't give Mary Ann and the Professor their due credit, then move my name behind Tina's." Talk about standing up for your friends. Can we get a round of applause? They fixed it. Reworked the theme song and included all 7 castaways in the credits. Problem solved? Not even close. Because even though the credit issue was resolved, the bad blood lingered. It simmered like overcooked coconuts on that imaginary island. Tina never really clicked with the rest of the cast. She felt out of place. And truthfully, she acted like it too. Some say she thought the show would focus more on her character, less on everyone else. And over the years, things didn't mellow out. But things didn't get easier. They only got more complicated. Every time there was talk of a reunion movie or a special event, guess who was the lone holdout? Yep, Tina Louise. She just wouldn't come back. And it wasn't just about nostalgia or fan service. These reunions were real paychecks for the rest of the cast. But with Tina refusing to participate, many of those projects never got off the ground. That meant lost opportunities and money for the others. People who, unlike her, wanted to reconnect with fans and maybe recapture some of that island magic. Imagine how frustrating that must have been to want to keep something alive, only to be blocked by one person's refusal to play ball. It's almost ironic, isn't it? The show was about 7 people stranded together, relying on one another to survive. But in real life, the unity was only skin deep. Some friendships were genuine, like the bond between Bob Denver, Dawn Wells, and Russell Johnson. But others? Well, they were as fake as the papier-mâché volcano from season 2. And at the center of that tension, whether she meant to or not, was Tina. It's kind of sad. Maybe she didn't realize the ripple effect of her choices. Maybe she was just trying to protect her image, or stand her ground, or maybe she simply didn't care. Whatever the reason, the fallout touched everyone. And even decades later, when fans talk about Gilligan's Island, the behind-the-scenes drama always bubbles up like an unwelcome reminder. Fans adored Ginger on screen, but hearing about all the off-camera drama tied to Tina Louise can be a shock. It's a reminder that Hollywood's shiny surface often hides messy, complicated reality. And this whole saga shows how something as small as contract billing can explode into years of resentment and missed chances. So next time you hum that catchy theme song, maybe spare a thought for Mary Ann and the Professor, the castaways who got lumped in as "and the rest." And don't forget Bob Denver, who stood up for his friends when it mattered most. Because fame fades, reruns come and go, but those behind-the-scenes choices, they leave marks at last. Now, 91, Tina Louise's reflections on her time as Ginger are surprisingly beautiful and touching. Sometimes we only truly appreciate parts of our lives long after they pass. And that's exactly what happened here. For years, Tina avoided talking about Gilligan's Island, quietly wishing people would see more of her than just that one role. For decades, Tina Louise secretly wished people would forget her Gilligan's Island role. But everything changed after hearing how a dying fan found comfort in watching her scenes. That moment moved her deeply, shifting her feelings from distance to gratitude. She never skipped reunions because she hated the show or cast. She was simply busy pursuing other projects and passions like writing children's books and promoting literacy. When Dawn Wells passed in 2020, Tina spoke warmly about their shared legacy. Now, at 91, she embraces her Ginger Grant role with grace, grateful for the fans who still find joy in the show after 55 years. Isn't that a beautiful way to look at a legacy? Not as a label or a cage, but as a shared experience, a bond with millions who grew up watching and still hold those memories close. And when asked how she wants to be remembered, Tina says, "My daughter said I had to live 40 years, so I'm going to do the best I can. I'm not thinking about leaving." How wonderfully defiant and full of life is that? Still here, still smiling, still grateful. Tina Louise may have been Ginger Grant to the world. She's so much more than that. Time softened the sharp edges of her past and turned them into something almost sacred. Makes you wonder, what parts of your life will you one day see in a new, kinder light? Because if Tina can go from running away from Ginger to embracing her like an old friend, maybe there's hope for all of us to make peace with the chapters we once wanted to skip. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more captivating stories. And to keep the journey going, click on the next video popping up on your screen now.